In October 2020, so right near the end of the first Trump term, Pentagon officials were preparing a rescue operation, a SEAL Team 6 operation, to go save an American citizen who'd been kidnapped near the border of Nigeria and Niger. And the Pentagon had planned the mission to a T. All they needed was one last thing from the State Department. They needed the State Department to make sure that the U.S. government had permission from the government of Nigeria to enter Nigerian airspace. So these Navy SEALs conducting the rescue mission wouldn't be shot out of the sky by the Nigerian military protecting their airspace. The Atlantic's Elena Plott-Calabro describes what happened next. Quote, around noon, Kash Patel called the Pentagon with an update. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, he said, had gotten the approval. The mission was a go. The SEALs were close to landing in Nigeria when Defense Secretary Mark Esper discovered that the State Department had not, in fact, secured the overflight clearance, as Kash Patel had claimed. The aircraft were quickly diverted. They flew in circles for the next hour as officials scrambled to alert the Nigerian government to their position. Esper later wrote that his team suspected Kash Patel had simply, quote, made the approval story up. Pentagon official and retired Army general, to whom Patel had originally given the supposed green light, then confronted Kash Patel in a rage. Quote, you could have gotten these guys killed, he shouted, according to two people familiar with the exchange. What the bleep were you thinking? Patel's response was, quote, if nobody got hurt, who the bleep cares? Now, Kash Patel denies that version of events, but that's one of just a series of revelations from insiders from the first Trump term who have tried to ring alarm bells about this guy who may be about to gain even more power in a second Trump term. As Patel has been put up for the job of FBI director, Elena Plott-Calabro at The Atlantic has also reported that a longtime Trump advisor said he had been in Kash Patel's presence more than once when Patel claimed he was the person who, quote, gave the order for U.S. forces to move in and kill the ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in 2019. The Baghdadi operation was one for which Patel, by his own admission, wasn't even in the Situation Room, let alone giving the kill order, which is what he's claimed. Joining us now is the person who wrote that detailed profile on Kash Patel, Atlantic staff writer Elena Plott-Calabro. Ms. Plott-Calabro, thanks very much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Rachel.
Given your reporting on Kash Patel and what you've been able to learn, particularly about what people who've served alongside him in the past thought about serving alongside him, what did you make of his performance today at his confirmation hearing?
In some ways, Rachel, what struck me about his performance today was less about how he responded to questions, which was predictable in many ways. He denied saying things that he had ever said. He denied being on podcasts with extremists that, he had clearly met before, been associated with in the past. What struck me, though, was the kind of line of questioning from Democratic senators, sort of focusing really intently on his involvement in, or his statements in the past about January 6th, his involvement in promoting a song performed by the January 6th prison choir. Whereas, as you just read from my story, there are plenty of incidences in his professional career where Republican officials themselves have sounded the alarm about him. And I just thought it was interesting that kind of those moments didn't seem to be put forth for inquiry as much as these very kind of narrow, focused, questions about January 6th.
Mm-hmm. I was interested, there was one moment, and this may seem like small stuff, but it just seemed like a really easily disprovable thing. When one of the post-first Trump term things that Mr. Patel has done is he's repeatedly appeared on a podcast with a guy who's a really virulent anti-Semite. And he was asked about that today. He said, I don't know who that is. I don't remember who that is. Like, that name's not familiar to me. Turns out Mr. Patel has appeared at least 8 times on that guy's podcast. And that anti-Semitic podcaster then came out today and said, clearly Kash Patel is lying. He absolutely does know who I am. We directly text via personal cell phones constantly. I get what you're saying about his time in office versus his time out of office, but that just seemed like something that might have blown up a normal nominee in normal terms.
I was just going to say, you're absolutely right. In a normal time, it's the sort of thing where, again, so easily disprovable, something that I think everybody would be talking about in the immediate aftermath. But I think this comes with kind of the normalization of the evasions and just outright lies that we've seen from several Trump officials in the past, what is it now? I guess 8 years. And I think Kash Patel's hearing, I mean, was chock full of moments like that. And so in some ways, it's almost kind of flooding the zone with enough that it's difficult to parse one moment and kind of understand the degree to which it's actually registering with those tuning into the hearing.
Yeah. Elena Calabro, staff writer at The Atlantic, thanks for your reporting on Mr. Patel. Thanks for helping us understand these hearings tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.